Listen, you don't need a gigantic Pro Max to access all the top-tier iPhone features. Nope. The regular Pro models pack all that heat and won't feel like a brick sitting in your pocket. As always, we'll take a deep dive into the design, display, battery, performance, and cameras to clear the dust and make sure you pick the absolute right one for you. Hey, I'm Olive, your host here at Versus.com. Oh, and here's a massive shout out to Basky for joining our Ultra tier. Thanks a lot for your support. If you also want to join the Versus family, just hit that join button down below. Alright, the one that sticks out the most is definitely the 17 Pro with that curvy design and Pocophone camera island on the back. The 16 Pro, 15 Pro, and 14 Pro might look like triplets, but the 16 is actually just a hair bigger than the 15, and the 14 Pro has far sharper edges. For materials, the 17 Pro goes for a full aluminium unibody with a little matte ceramic shield glass window on the back. The 16 Pro and 15 Pro rock matte titanium frames, while the 14 Pro is built with polished stainless steel. For those last three, the whole back panel is frosted glass. Honestly, we aren't huge fans of the 17 Pro's aluminium body. It scratches easily and doesn't feel as premium as the older iPhones. Apple says it's for better heat management, but like 95% of users won't even notice the difference. As for weight, the 16 Pro is surprisingly the lightest at 7.01 ounces, which is 199 grams, though they all feel practically the same in the hand. For durability, all four have an IP68 rating, meaning that they're dust tight and you could even take them scuba diving for about 30 minutes in up to 6 meters of water. So as always, let's check in with the team and see who likes which design best.
The 16.
The 17.
The 17.
The 16.
The 14. What about you?
I'm gonna have to go for the 16. Now let's zoom right in on these displays. The 17 Pro and 16 Pro are rocking 6.3-inch displays, while the 15 Pro and 14 Pro have slightly smaller 6.1-inch panels. They all use LTPO OLED tech and all support up to 120 Hz, but the 17 Pro has a new anti-reflective coating designed to reduce those annoying glares. In our typical high brightness test, where we simulate direct sunlight at over 100,000 lux, they all hit pretty much the same mark at around 1,100 nits. However, for peak brightness, the 17 Pro was the clear winner, skyrocketing to a crazy 3,260 nits. For security, all four phones have Face ID, and it's tucked right up in that fancy dynamic island. Now, for deeper screen specs, feel free to pause the video right here. Overall, it is crystal clear that the 17 Pro has the best screen here, mostly thanks to that anti-reflective coating and that improved peak brightness, which is a lifesaver when you're outside on a sunny day. The other three aren't terrible, but you can definitely notice how much smaller the bezels are on the 16 Pro compared to the 15 Pro and 14 Pro when put side by side. But hey, a great screen isn't the only thing that matters, so let's crank up the volume and check out the speakers. You've got one speaker up top and one at the bottom on all four iPhones. It looks like there are two grills at the bottom, but the one on the left is actually just hiding a microphone. So here at Versus, we found that the 17 Pro and the 15 Pro have the loudest volume, but the 17 Pro offers better bass and clearer definition. It's kind of interesting that both the 16 Pro and 14 Pro are a little quieter, and the 14 Pro audibly has the least punchy bass out of all four of them. By the way, we're not the Eye of Sauron or anything, but we know a ton of you are loving our videos, but haven't hit that subscribe button yet. So if you want to get the freshest reviews dropped right onto your YouTube feed, make sure to smash that subscribe button down below. Oh, and if any of these iPhones have caught your eye, why not check them out using the direct links we've put in the description below. But enough talk, let's head out and snap some photos and videos. For the main camera, all 4 of these iPhones come with the exact same 48 megapixel module featuring an f1.8 aperture and the same 1/1.28 inch sensor size. For all you content creators, you also have the option of Pro RAW for photos. Honestly, there aren't any massive differences here, but if you look closely, the 17 Pro tends to have boosted colors, while the 14 Pro usually gives you shots that look a little over-sharpened. The story is the same indoors, where the 17 Pro is noticeably richer in color than the 14 Pro, which just looks a bit too washed out overall. Moving to the ultra-wide lenses, the 17 Pro and 16 Pro step up with 48 megapixel cams, while the 15 Pro and 14 Pro are stuck with just 12 megapixel lenses. However, they all share the same f2.2 aperture and a 120-degree field of view. Just like the main cams, the post-processing is pretty consistent across the board, though the 16 Pro stands out, which has a warmer white balance in this specific shot. The warmer tone also shows up in indoor shots, but it's not as obvious, and it's pretty wild that even with the smaller megapixel count on the 15 and 14 Pro, the actual detail looks exactly the same on all of them. For zoom, we have a mixed bag of setups. The 17 Pro is packing a brand new 48 megapixel periscope telephoto lens with 4x optical zoom. The 16 Pro has a slightly smaller 12 megapixel periscope telephoto that hits 5x zoom, whereas the 15 Pro and 14 Pro both come with identical 12 megapixel telephoto lenses that only manage 3x optical zoom. It is interesting that Apple decided to give the smaller 15 Pro an inferior telephoto lens, while the bigger 15 Pro Max got the same camera setup as the 16 Pro models. Here's how they all stack up at their specific optical zoom levels, but when we crank them up to 10x digital zoom, the 16 Pro actually captures the most detail, while the 17 Pro kind of softens textures a bit too much. Then, at their maximum distance, the 17 Pro shows off some sturdy algorithms to recover detail, making it the best in this category. Switching over to portrait mode with the main camera, these iPhones look practically identical, but for actual edge detection, the 17 and 16 Pro are definitely the more advanced ones. When you use the telephoto lenses, the 16 Pro clearly comes out as the most precise. This is something we have noticed before, and we honestly don't understand how the 17 Pro is such a huge downgrade even compared to the 14 Pro. For video recording, the 17 Pro and 16 Pro can shoot all the way up to 4K 120 FPS, while the 15 Pro and 14 Pro are limited to 4K 60 FPS. But like always, all our footage here is shot at 4K 30 FPS. Here you also have ProRes, which preserves far more data than a regular video. The 17 and 16 can shoot at a blazing 4K 120 FPS, while the 15 is capped at 4K 60 FPS. This when writing to external storage. The 14 is limited to only 1080p 30 FPS in the 120GB configuration, but it can do 4K 30 FPS in the versions with more internal storage. On top of this, both the 16 and 15 have Apple's own Apple Log format, but the 17 Pro offers the improved Apple Log 2, and most importantly, ProRes RAW, which captures all the data from the camera sensor, giving you the absolute maximum flexibility when editing in post. Video has always been an iPhone superpower, and we have to say the videos coming out of any of these 4 are just great. Even the stabilization is top-notch across the board, which is obviously fantastic. Cinematic video is also available on all 4, maxing out at 4K 30 FPS. This is totally a game of Where's Waldo, because trying to spot the differences between them is seriously a hardcore task. For ultra-wide video, the maximum recording resolution is 4K 60 FPS on every single one. Once again, no differences. Same dynamic range, same colors, same white balance. I mean, kudos to Apple for not messing with something that ain't broken. Now, flipping these iPhones over like omelets, the 17 Pro has a new 18 megapixel front camera with a square sensor, while the rest are using the exact same traditional 12 megapixel cam. Right here, you can see how much wider the field of view is on the 17 Pro. It also grabs a bit more fine detail, while the others look pretty much the same. In darker areas at night, the 14 Pro performs the worst, starting to show some intense noise. The 17 Pro also has a rather noticeable greenish tint, while the 15 Pro and 16 Pro look a bit better. For video, you can film at a maximum of 4K 60 FPS on all 4. Again, you can clearly see how much more the 17 Pro can fit into the frame, though just like before, the colors and dynamic range are practically identical across all these iPhones.
So now let's test out the video on all of these devices, and we'll start off with the brand new iPhone 17 Pro. What do you guys think? How do I sound over here? Is the audio quality good? Then we'll go back down to the 16. How does it sound? Any different to the 17? What do we think? Then we get on to the 15. Is it better, worse than the others? What do we think? I'm in a relatively busy area, quite a few cars going on. How's it handling that? Finally, we've got the 14. How does it sound to the rest? And as always, let's discuss it.
There aren't any huge differences in the mics either. The 14 Pro does sound a little muffled, but it's not wildly different. Still, all of them let quite a bit of background noise sneak into the footage. Now let's plunge into the darkness and snap some low-light shots. This is a really interesting photo because only the 14 Pro actually captured the exact colors of this flower shop. However, it's still a bit over-sharpened. Another cool detail is that the sign reflection on the lens is much less noticeable on the 17 Pro. With the ultra-wide cameras, the 16 Pro is certainly the dimmest one, but it's also the most realistic. On the flip side, the others are brighter but look less authentic. These are the kind of shots you'll get with the telephoto lenses, and I think we can all agree that the 15 Pro is the absolute worst, while the 16 Pro fares much, much better. In video mode, using the main camera, the 17 Pro, 16 Pro, and 15 Pro all look correct, but the 14 Pro definitely has a colder white balance. It's not extreme, but you can see it. With the ultra-wide cameras, we get an expected drop in quality, but to be fair, all of them still manage to deliver a good level of video without super extreme noise or blurriness. So if we're getting super picky, the 17 Pro does come out on top, especially because of that handy new front camera. If we look at things more generally, all of them take seriously great photos and videos. It's true that the 14 Pro sometimes has some color balance issues and maybe a little too much sharpening, but honestly, all 4 iPhones will do a fantastic job snapping pictures of your house cat, dog, or raccoon, or cow. Now, iPhones not only come with great cameras, but also with lots of power. But just how much? Well, let's pop up the hood and check it out. We've got the A19 Pro, A18 Pro, A17 Pro, and A16 Bionic chips as the captains. For RAM, the 17 Pro gets 12 GB, the 16 Pro and 15 Pro get 8 GB, and the 14 Pro trails with 6 GB. Here's a quick peek at the available storage configuration, types, and USB standards. And just in case you forgot, the 14 Pro is stuck with the old Lightning port, whereas the rest of the lineup comes with USB-C, all thanks to those customer protection laws over in the European Union. Also, as is the norm now, all of these models are eSIM exclusive in the US, but everywhere else in the world, you can get versions that still support a physical nano SIM card. The 17 Pro comes with Apple's new N1 chip for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Thread connections, but it is missing Apple's C1 or C1X chips for cellular, so all these iPhones are still relying on Qualcomm Silicon for mobile connections. Alright, to really see what these phones are made of, we tossed them into some real-world tests, kicking things off with gaming. We ran 15-minute sessions with cooldown time in between. First up, Grid Legends in graphics mode. The game only unlocks 40 FPS for the 17 Pro and caps the rest at 30 FPS. Honestly, every single phone kept super stable here with only tiny drops of 1 or 2 FPS. However, for temperature, the 15 Pro got seriously spicy, reaching 122 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 50 degrees Celsius. Next, we launched Withering Waves and cranked the graphics all the way up. Oddly enough, the iPhone 17 Pro along with the 14 Pro were the worst performers, dropping hard from 60 to 40 FPS. The 16 Pro was somewhere in the middle, but the champ here was the 15 Pro, dropping to only 46 FPS. However, it got even hotter, hitting 125 degrees Fahrenheit, which translates to 52 degrees Celsius. Moving on from gaming, we exported 99 photos in Lightroom. Once again, the iPhone 15 Pro took the lead, but the difference between it and the 16 Pro and 17 Pro wasn't massive. The 14 Pro, however, took more than 8.5 minutes to finish the export. Next, we exported a 1.5-minute long video in 4K 30 FPS using Adobe Premiere. Surprisingly, the 16 Pro took the lead, being the only one to finish the job in less than a minute. But now let's check out some benchmarks. In Geekbench 6, we see the scores predictably going up with each newer model, and the biggest jump in scores actually happens between the 15 Pro and the 16 Pro for both single and multi-core. In 3D Mark's Wildlife Extreme Stress Test, it's pretty much the same story, with scores climbing for every new generation. We should point out that the lowest loop score of the 17 Pro is still higher than the best loop of the iPhone 15 and 14 Pro, just to put that into perspective. In Antutu, of course, we have ascending numbers as well, with the 17 Pro topping the chart. Also, the biggest score jump here happened between the 16 Pro and the 17 Pro. So 2 key takeaways. First, it's totally expected and obvious that the 17 Pro wins the benchmarks and has exceptional everyday performance. But second, it's really interesting to see that the 15 Pro actually managed to overtake it in some of our tests, like in Withering Waves. However, it also got the hottest of the bunch, so make sure you keep an ice pack handy if you plan on pushing it hard. Now, let's dive into the software side of things. All of these pros are currently running iOS 26.1. Apple basically never gives official numbers on software support, but iPhones usually get updates for about 7 years, so the 14 Pro should technically be supported until around 2029. Across the lineup, you get the cool liquid glass interface with Windows Aero vibes, plus some UI tweaks and apps like the camera and some new personalization options. Now, the iPhone 14 Pro is definitely missing out on the most stuff. You won't find the newer photographic styles, you don't get the handy cleanup tool, and it doesn't have the action or camera buttons either. To be fair, the 15 Pro is also missing the camera button, but the 14 Pro also completely lacks Apple Intelligence. So basically, Siri will always reply, "This is what I found on the web." The iPhone 17, 16, and 15 Pro all get the full Apple Intelligence suite, which includes the new Siri that has built-in ChatGPT integration and visual intelligence for doing searches based on what you point your camera at or what's in your screenshots. So with that feature overview out of the way, let's move on to our final segment. The 17 Pro is packing the biggest battery cell of the bunch, whether you get the nano SIM or the eSIM version. Apple won't spill the beans on official wired charging speeds, but for wireless power, both the 17 Pro and 16 Pro are superior, hitting up to 25 watts. All of them support wired reverse charging and technically wireless reverse charging too, but that's only to charge a MagSafe power bank that's attached to the phone while the phone itself is plugged in with a cable. So no luck wirelessly juicing up your AirPods. For battery life, the 17 Pro delivered amazing screen on time during our testing. It was actually better than the 16 Pro, which was already pretty great. Now, for the 15 and 14 Pro, you have to keep in mind that these phones aren't new and batteries degrade over time no matter if you use them heavily or not. So if you want the best possible battery life from one of these older models, you'll definitely need to budget for a battery replacement. Now let's talk about charging. We put all 4 to test using a 100 watts multi-standard charger. The 17 Pro was the quickest refilling its battery in just 1 hour and 15 minutes, peaking at 34 watts. Next up was surprisingly the 14 Pro at 1 hour and 37 minutes, but hitting a much lower 21 watts. Just 1 minute later came the 16 Pro at 1 hour and 38 minutes, reaching 24 watts. Last was the 15 Pro, taking a rather long 1 hour and 44 minutes, peaking at 23 watts. Now this is the part that's really gonna put everything into perspective. The price. Seriously, who doesn't want to save some coins, especially in this economy? Well, the iPhone 17 Pro will straight up rob you of $1,099 for the base storage model. The 16 Pro has been officially canned by Apple as usual, but you can still find unlocked versions in some stores for around $899. Now, if you want the iPhone 15 Pro or 14 Pro, you'll have to hit the used market. On sites like Swappa, you can snag a mint condition 15 Pro for around $600, while the 14 Pro will only set you back about $500. This creates a massive $599 price gap between the 14 Pro and the 17 Pro. So technically, you could buy 2 iPhone 14 Pros for the price of one 17 Pro. One is your daily driver, and the second is a backup for when you shatter the first one, pulling it out of your pocket once again. So if we take all this info and mash it together, there's one iPhone that's the undisputed champion for us when you factor in price and features, and that's the iPhone 16 Pro. It's definitely not cheap, but compared to the 17 Pro, you're gonna save a ton of cash. On top of that, its cameras are fantastic, it has plenty of raw power, and it still has that sturdy titanium build. The 15 Pro is honestly also a superb alternative since it's even cheaper and showed seriously good performance in our real-world tests, even though it did get a little toasty. Now, the 17 Pro is technically the best of the bunch, but it's only a real option if you you absolutely need the ultimate performance and have the money for it, or if you just want to flex on complete strangers that you can afford it. The 14 Pro is okay, but it is starting to show its age. Plus, its Lightning port makes it incompatible with practically all recent accessories these days, which is actually a real pain. But if you want to see how the max versions of these 4 iPhones stack up, we've got you covered. Just poke this link right here. And before you go search for PlayStation deals, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and hit subscribe, as we're always testing new devices to help you make the best choice. We'll see you in our next video, and until then, take care.